Welcome to our show, Roadway to Success, a highway contractor's view of the construction industry. My name is Hanny.
As always, Emad.
And Issa.
Again, welcome. This episode, we want to get down and dirty, mud dirty, about bidding, the process of getting the work. We talked about it last episode, about 3 parts, in our opinion, of how a construction company is ran, and we wanted to highlight now bidding. And when we highlight bidding, there's still a lot more involved. There'll come in more shows, but we just want to give you the skinny about bidding and what it is. And main thing everybody needs to understand, this is what we call low bid. We discussed it last time. We're going to get in depth about it. In our industry, low bid is all that matters. If you are 2 cents more expensive than your competitor, you are the first loser.
It's worse to be in that spot than it is in last
now,
spot.
If you win by the 2 cents,
that's a good place to be.
Boy, you
bragging for years.
You're bragging. So I want to tell you a quick story. One of my favorite, the first job we bid as a GC, it was about $200, and I remember this crazy, but it's $219,000, and the next bid was $221,000. It's like a 1% spread.
That gap is
awesome.
Awesome.
And recently, I had a $7.596 million job that I won by $100,000. But they had changed the bid 3 times. In the first bid, I would have beat them by $2,000, which is almost unheard of. Pat on the back. I like to pat myself on the back.
But those don't count. The ones that count are the ones you turn in. You got to remember that.
The ones that count are the ones we get and we actually finish and make money on.
That's right. And some you don't. Some you don't make money on, man. It happens. It's part of business, you know.
Yeah, and then I'm going to go more in deep on when we talk about project management and estimating as well. There's a lot of things that you'll learn to experience, you know. There's a lot of hidden profit in jobs that I'm not going to give away right now, but I learned through time how we make money. Again, we're going to talk about financials of the company as well, teaching you how to read them later on in future podcasts. That's very important as an owner to understand your financial.
So, Hanny, you have the biggest background in the bidding side of things.
I am an expert.
So help explain,
in my opinion,
like, how do you find the work? How do you find out, okay, this job, you know, let's just say X Road is bidding on January 15th.
Yeah, so in our world, we live in North Carolina. So North Carolina has, monthly bidding with the state. They have divisions, 14 divisions in our state, and each division has their own, projects to bid.
Division-led,
and you got state-led, you got division-led, then you got cities. And it's a hunting process. I mean, it takes a lot of work. You got to get online. You got to keep looking for all of the bids. You got to stay on top of their website. And then you have to also set yourself up to get invited to the city and town projects. You know, we have a town right next to us, a few of them that we don't even know about the project till it's too late, and we miss out on it. So, you got to have friends in low places.
That's the who you know, not what you know version of this, the ugly version of this type of work we have to do as well.
Yeah, the who you know is so important, so important.
I mean, even recently you were on a invite-only bid, right?
Yes.
So sometimes, like, you get to a level where only certain people are invited to the bid process.
Yeah, and if in certain cities, I mean, it's kind of crazy, but if you if the city has a small job and it's a certain amount of dollar value, they can do a bid. They can only ask certain contractors to bid it. Normally, if it's a larger job, then they just open it to the public, and anybody that qualifies can bid it. When I mean qualify, I mean if they require bonding, you got to be able to get bonded. And bonding is basically like an insurance policy to the city that you're gonna, when your bid is gonna be good. It's called a bid bond, and then you got a payment bond and performance bond in the project management sector. And we're going to go in-depth about that in future podcasts about bonding, because we can sit here and talk for hours about bonding.
And hopefully we can bring some professional guests that are in the industry, the bonding industry, insurance industry, to help you out with that as well.
Yeah, we have a really good bonding guy. I'm sure he'd love to sit here and talk and advertise for himself.
Of course.
We love you, Neil.
So we'll talk about bidding again. Low bid, there's 2 aspects. There's a general contractor and there's a subcontractor. General contractor is the one that matters the most when we're talking about low bid, because they're going to turn the bid in and it's going to be alive. They're going to open the bid. They're going to make sure you have all the addendums checked. They're going to make sure you have everything signed. They're going to have your minority participation is there. Again, minority participation is
a whole different subject.
So another thing, don't mean to interrupt, but that means that when you turn that bid in, that contract is signed.
Yeah, you pretty much you sign the contract. Well, it's not the contract that's signed, but the bid is signed, and then you have a bid bond. So that bid bond is a 5% of the bid amount. So if you're bidding $100,000, you're putting up 5%, $5,000 to say, hey, my bid is good, and if I want to withdraw it, you have the right to tell me to pay you 5% to withdraw my bid. That's up to the discretion of the city, what they want to do, or the state, or whoever's putting out the project. So that just basically, you are ensuring them that, hey, my bid is good and it's going to be low, and if it's not, if I want to withdraw it, I'm going to pay you 5%.
Have you ever done that?
I have withdrawn bids before, and luckily they did not ask me for the 5%. So can if you make an honest mistake and can prove it, then yes, they will reject it. And it's all about who you know as well.
Can you give an example of the withdrawn bid? Like what happened?
Yeah, actually, it's funny, but it was the main one of our first jobs within the building division of our company. Mm-hmm. We submitted.
Now we have to say we do both sides.
We do both sides, but we had a guy. We have our building division is a one-man show.
Yeah,
literally. But that's what we're going to talk about later. The difference between building and highway. That you can have a one-man building company and still be successful. He submitted a bid. He made a mistake. We were about 20-30% lower than second place. We realized we had a mistake. We asked to be withdrawn from the bid, and they let us withdraw from the bid. Cool. So, and also the city, you gotta understand, when you come to bidding, the cities are not, or whoever's bidding the job, if they have any kind of common sense, they don't want you to go in there and be really cheap because you made a mistake. You're not going to do the job right. It's just going to be unsuccessful for everybody.
It's an uphill battle at that point. There's no reason to fight.
Yeah. So if they, if they see that, hey, this guy is, if you bid a job and you're 20-30% cheaper than the next guy, they're going to question you and say, hey, are you good with your bid? Yeah. I've had a situation where I was at $6.2 million. The next bid was $8 million. Mm-hmm. That's what, almost 18%, 20%. I mean, it was, that's when your stomach drops. You feel like, puking. But
what did I miss?
What did I miss? Whatever. But, we needed a job. We felt comfortable. We took the job. We were happy. And so far, so good.
We didn't miss anything. The other guy was just more greedy than he needed to be, apparently.
Yeah. So, talking about low bid, that's a low bid. When you're bidding a job, you got to basically build the job in your head. That's one of the main things that a lot of people do not understand, what it takes to bid a job. I mean, that's in all construction industry, but especially in highway construction. When you're going horizontal, you don't know what's underground. When you're going vertical, you're building a building, you're starting from the bottom, working your way up in the sky. You can see everything. There's nothing there. But when you're talking about a highway, you're talking about putting some pipe in, water, sewer work, a bridge. You don't know if you can hit rocks. You don't know nothing. So, that's another thing about, you got to build a job in your head and you got to hope it comes out. You got to think about the material need. You got to think about the equipment. You got to think about the crews. Some things are fixed, but, just get more in depth about bidding. It's an experience thing. And again, it's a risk thing. What kind of risk are you going to take?
Also, one thing he's not highlighting on is you have to understand your cost. You have to understand what that crew costs you per day, whether they are being productive or not.
Yeah.
So this is all inside your bidding software that we recommend you purchase.
Yeah, doing Excel was old school, man. There's a lot of software products out there. We use a certain one. Once they pay us to say their name, we'll definitely say their name, and I'll push for that product. But it's very good and it's very helpful. And I used to do estimating with Excel. Drive me crazy. It's okay if you're a small contractor, 2 or 3 items.
Like me.
Yeah,
I don't use a bidding software yet.
Yeah,
I do plan on adding one in the future.
Yeah, it gets costly, man. Bidding softwares can range a minimum. You're going to spend $5,000 just for one user, and it can go up to $100,000. And then they have different aspects when you go for project management through the bidding software. So it's really insane, awesome.
It becomes a beast of its own, basically.
Yes, highly recommended. This software that we're talking about for bidding does a lot. It talks, you can input your crews, you can input your equipment, you can set up equipment and crew together. So say you got a pipe job, you use 6 guys and 3-4 the same machines on every pipe job you're doing. That's the good thing about our highway industry. You're gonna do pipe, you got these 3-4 machines and this 6-man crew. You input it once and then you can just bring it in and adjust hours, and all you have to basically adjust is your material, what kind of material you're doing. And it's basically, based on how much production they can do in a certain amount of hours.
And the good thing about the software is it stores previous work you've completed.
Yeah, you can go back and you can copy. You literally can copy from one estimate into your new estimate, and it's just done. And it'll even adjust for quantities and hours and everything. I do that a lot.
So when you get to an item that has, 5 different materials that are included into one bid item, that's that much less you have to think about versus when you're writing it down by hand.
Oh, definitely. I mean, then also a big thing about software, if you're, in bidding, the bid's at 2:00. If you're not there at 2:00, you might as well just wasted all your time. I've been in bids. The last bid I won, a guy came in 1 minute late, less than a minute late, but he had called. That's it. We closed the job and guy walked in. And I said, "Well, can I turn my bid in?" He said, "Sorry." I mean, I would have told him no too, because that's one more competitor I don't need. It was already 5 people bidding the job. Why don't you make it 6? Slow bid. So he came in a minute late. He had to sit and watch the show. Was he going to be low? He didn't say anything. I wanted to ask him. We actually won the job. I wanted to see if he would have beat our number or not. But highly unlikely. I'm so professional. But yeah, I mean 2:00. So if you have a bid that you have to make a quick change on, if you're using Excel, you got to change it every sheet, or you got to make sure this one, it just highlights like anywhere there's this material. So a concrete number came in $20 cheaper. You can just go in there and just put the price, change it across all the items. Mm-hmm. So the bidding software is worth its money. It's expensive, but it is worth the money.
But again, you have to be large enough to afford it. You don't want to buy it when you're still small.
Yeah, you don't want to get this cost. Also, you got to pay a yearly subscription for updates and whatnot to call them if you have a problem. They're great. They're great about helping you out when there's an issue with the program.
At least the one that we are using.
Yes, the one we're using.
And when you're doing it the old school way, man, it just helps get all that stuff going in your brain too, though.
Yeah, definitely. With Excel, you start thinking about everything, and you got to, like I said in the beginning, you got to build the job in your head. You got to see what machine is gonna, what obstacles are gonna be in the way, what machine with my guys gonna be, everything. Do I need a dump truck on site? Like when you're doing pipe, you don't think about a dump truck being in there, but where are you gonna put the dirt if you're in the middle of the intersection? You got to have a dump truck to haul the stuff to the corner and bring it back. So, there's a lot of things, and that's one thing we will try to help, but we can't really teach you how to do the job, more or less. And that goes to my second point, advantage, like if you're doing stuff in-house versus subcontracting, when you're bidding a job as a general contractor or a subcontractor, mainly a general, you have the advantage of doing certain things. Like, our company, we do our own grading, we do our own pipe work, we do our own concrete. We can do the asphalt under, not final asphalt surface, but any kind of asphalt
base
work, base, intermediate, patching. We do that. We can do a lot of things that sometimes it's cheaper to sub, sometimes, we do it in-house.
And unfortunately, the more you control, the smoother the job should go. And that doesn't leave much room for subcontractors in all reality. But one of the worst things that can happen is you have a subcontractor holding up a $7 million project because he can't get his section done. And that's when it kind of gets a little ugly and muddy. But at the end of the day, we're not saying don't hire people. You need to hire quality people, even if they're not the cheapest sometimes.
You just need to know who you're hiring, too.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, in our industry, we're going to talk about that in another episode, but the hiring of the people, I mean, people will jump ship for 25 cents. It's so true. I mean, people don't think, oh, man, you spent years in this company, the company offers you all these benefits, somebody pays you $1 more, and they're gone. And then 9 out of 10 times they're back in a month or two asking for their job back. And then that's when you as an owner, as a project manager, have to really look at the trust that's lost and whatnot. But we will discuss that in depth in another episode, because I'm sure that's on everybody's mind. That's one of the biggest obstacles. And then, going back to the bidding, the experience. Experience is huge. It takes many years to understand. As a GC, bidding and highway work, you gotta, like for me, I put together a $10 million job, but I need subcontractors' numbers. So I have to guess at what they're going to come at. So through my experience, I kind of have an idea. This is what's going to cost. This is what's looking at a job. We're bidding a bridge job soon. We don't really do bridge in-house. We sub it out, but the bridge is only a certain part of the job. If it's less than 20-30% of the bid, less than 50%, then we might be competitive. That's the kind of job you don't want to sit there and waste your time. It costs money to buy these plans. They charge you between $150 to $500 to get a set of plans. You're not getting that money back, and you spend hours and hours, phone calls and emails trying to figure out the bid.
And that's another episode. It takes spending money to make money.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that's a big, big, big thing that a lot of people don't understand. But, yeah, experience is huge. Your knowledge, your experience with different subcontractors, you got to have more than one sub that you use on everything. You can't have the same concrete guy, the same asphalt guy, because they know that they'll start taking advantage.
Being diverse.
Yes, diversity, it helps your bid out tremendously. And know who you know. The right guys, you can call them up and say, hey, man, I want this job. Make sure your number comes in good, man. Let's work together on this. Certain people, based on their workload, how much they're going to, how aggressive they're going to be. And you can't talk to people. You got to be very careful when you're bidding. You can't call your best friend and say, hey, I got so-and-so's bid. Here's his number. Like, we don't do that. Under no circumstances do we do that.
That's a no-no in any industry.
You do not share.
Not do that.
You want these guys to give you numbers, and you give them numbers as a sub on certain jobs. So you got to have that trust. You got to make sure, you have to 110%. There's no other option but to be straight up and honest with somebody. If a guy wants, you can tell after the fact. After the fact, if the guy was, cheaper or more expensive, you can tell him, hey, look, man, you came in,
Yeah, because it's public
higher.
record.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter at that point, but he's not going to trust you if he knows you're selling his numbers.
Yeah.
And he will never give you numbers, or he will, but they'll be higher than he would normally give them to you. So
going back to what we ended with, the sharing the numbers for your subcontractors. You don't want that to happen to you, so you try not to do it. You do not do it for others. Do upon someone that you want done upon you. But ending with that note, the next thing is going back to the experience, knowing the right people, understanding what the job's going to be. We will go more in depth on whatever you guys want us to talk about. We were talking about while we were correcting our camera that materials is a big thing.
Proper pricing on your materials, because it changed. Steel, one of those steel changes every day. The price of it goes also, up down.
When you bid a job and you put down $25 a foot for whatever item, you're not getting no more money, man.
That's it.
If they delay the job 6 months, they're going to call you and say, hey, is your number good? You're probably going to say yes, because you're expecting to do that job. And then your material suppliers comes out of the woods and says, hey, I'm going to charge you 25% more because this and that and the other. You got to figure out something.
And that's why you got to lock that price in on certain items.
Yes, lock it in or find another guy.
Now, one thing, we'll dive deeper into this too, is in the DOT, they have a fuel adjustment.
Yeah.
So if the price of fuel, you don't get screwed in that aspect.
No. And asphalt, for instance, asphalt is tied to the price of the fuel.
Mm-hmm.
Most jobs, especially big jobs, they adjust the price. So you're when you're bidding, you understand that, especially if you have experience on the highway. I get a lot of guys that do certain work for private industry, try to step into the highway industry, and they don't get it. They don't understand. I had a guy recently, I'm trying to get a price for a huge streetscape project, a lot of landscaping on it, for instance, a lot of trees, hundreds of trees. And we don't like that. We have to do it as part of our job, but it's just one more sub to manage. And I called the guy. He said, look, I'm professional, I'm this, I'm that, I know what I'm doing, but I don't like bidding city work because I got to put all this effort into it, and it's all about low bid. And I said, well, you are one sub. I have to deal with you and all these other guys and myself, and I do all this work, and sometimes I walk in the room and lose.
The guy straight up told you that?
Straight up. He's like, I don't want to do it, man. And I said, listen, give me your bid. I've never worked with you before. Right now, I don't have any bids on these items.
I wish I was at a point in my business where I'd turn business down.
I told him, look, man, just give me your bid, because if I only have you, I have to go with you. But when you are bidding and you become, you don't get respect until you start winning jobs. It's unfortunate, but you get a lot of respect from certain other subcontractors and other companies, even big companies, like asphalt guys, for instance. They don't like dealing with intersection improvements, road widenings. There's a lot of moving parts. They would rather just come put the asphalt down and leave. So they have to work with us general contractors that will do these ugly jobs, as they like to call them.
They like to sit down, do the shave and pave. Or
pave.
the mill and fill.
Yeah.
Let us know which one you guys call it.
Or lay it, roll it, and bill it. But, going back to that guy and that whole thing, you get certain people after you bid the job and you win it, they'll call you and be like, hey, man, we didn't know you were going to bid this job. What they wanted to say was, we saw you on the bidders list. We think you didn't have a chance in hell. So
we don't take you seriously.
Yeah. So they end up saying, okay, so, I'm all about, send me your number. Whether I use you or not, that's up to my discretion. I already went in with a number. Now, sometimes I go in with a sub. Sometimes I just go in with that number, and I don't, and I look at the job after the fact. Because if you leave a lot of money on the table, you're too cheap. You sort of adjust. You start calling people and saying, hey, man, we obviously left 10%, 15% on the table. Anything you do, help us out, because we don't want to let the job go. And some guys will say, yeah, I'll work with you on this, work with you on that. Or hey, man, I got another number. I've had jobs where a friend of mine was bidding against us. A lot of us are friends. I won the job. He'll come back and say, I'll ask him, man, who do you use for the striping, for instance? Because I didn't really have a good number. I know my number wasn't good. And he tell me, oh, these guys sent me a number this much. I said, oh, okay, great. He'll say, call them up. Maybe they'll quote it for you.
Yeah.
And I've saved $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 on them items because the other company didn't think I was going to win.
Mm-hmm.
Called them up and said, hey, we're a little better. You want to give me your number and take it out? Yeah, sure. Okay. Come up. They're a good, reputable company.
Yeah.
So we'll use them. I mean, that's just part of that's what comes to the business aspect of it. There's nothing wrong with fixing your subs and prices and everything after the fact, because you took all the risk.
Yeah.
We're the low bidder, so now
some things that can't change, the DBE, WBE stuff.
Yeah, if you list somebody on the job for DBW, we're going to talk about that later on, you cannot change that, because that's going to be bad. And there's a way to get rid of them if they can't perform, but you need to do your best effort to help them perform. It makes you look good and you help them grow. If you're successful, you got to help other people be successful. I mean, that's the thing that I believe in. So but at the same time,
they have to give the effort back.
They have to be able to help themselves.
Yeah.
If they can help themselves, we can help them.
There's two different parts of the cities in the states. There's people who watch the job being built, the engineering department that wants the job to get built right, and if you have a terrible sub or a problem, they say it's your problem. We're paying you. You're the general contractor. And then you have the people downtown that say, no, you guys got to use these certain people you listed, and we were trying to help this and that. So, they got a little fighting amongst themselves, and you're left holding the bag as a general contractor.
At the end of the day, what you guys have to remember is you are the guy or the girl that's responsible financially for everything. You do what's best for your company and your employees, and that's one of the main things that people don't understand. They think that we're out here just, to get over on people or do things, but the reality is, company of our size, we have quite a few people that are behind us. Our employees have families, they have children, they have, grandchildren, some of them. So I've got a lot of mouths that I've got to worry about feeding, and I won't let the state or the city or anybody else dictate how or when I make my money. And that's the same thing you'd have to come in with. It's the same attitude is, no matter what, even if you have a partner, no matter what it is that you guys are discussing or talking about or need to do, the question should always be asked, what's best for the company? Not what's best for you, not what's best for your partner if you have one, or the city, or I don't care. What's best for the company? Because you are there to protect your company and your employees. And if you can't do that, you're in the wrong business. You might as well just be an employee.
And that's in every business, but mainly our business.
Correct.
You know.
That goes for anybody who owns a business, by the way.
Yeah. So I guess adding on to that, it's very important to, make sure you're financially stable, make sure that you are doing what's right for the company, and also your reputation. I mean, bidding, you want to be invited to the bid, so you need to have a good reputation. There's certain companies that, if they're bidding a job, even the people at the city or the state don't want them to win the job because their reputation is just terrible. And that also happens when they're subcontractors. You use the wrong subcontractor during your bid. They got a bad reputation. So many times we'll be in a meeting after the bid to set up the bid during the pre-construction, and we'll say, okay, we're using this sub for these items, and the engineer will be like, man, wow, okay, and then we'll tell them, okay, we're gonna babysit him because he or she is known for not doing the best job, but we try to help them succeed, and at the end of the day, we're still holding the bag.
Yeah, and sometimes you got to be careful too, like in the pre-bid process when everybody's chit-chatting, of talking down about your competitors. Man, you always want to be the guy who respects their competitors, yes, versus trash talks them to try to get your bid to get accepted.
Yeah, because it's not going to make a difference.
There's no respect there, and people really, I know, they may not say it to your face, but they really look down upon it.
Yeah, I mean, you always got to show respect. It's always like they say, respect is earned, not given, and if you look at a lot of the projects that bid in certain areas, it's always the same few companies, which is in our case is good. You want to see it at the table. Once you're at the table, most of the jobs have 3 to 5 bidders on average for state work, city work. They're always bidding these jobs, so these guys know each other. These guys know how they understand the workload because they know what jobs you want, and they study you. And if you're a good contractor, you study your competition. Because it's very important in bidding. You got to study your competition, see what kind of workload they got. You hear the rumors, oh, these guys are busy, oh, these guys are starving, oh, these guys are whatever. But, I mean, that's part of the bid. That's part of you doing your homework. Looking at the whole thing. Some jobs, you can get more money for it. You can up your bid because there's not going to be nobody bidding it. Or, these guys always bid this type of job high. These guys don't want this job. Some guys, like asphalt guys, it's a huge job. They'll take the whole job. They don't want the whole job, but if it's 30% asphalt, they want to make sure they're putting asphalt down. So they're going to win the job. The general contractor sub most everything out. Because otherwise, they don't want to ride on your your coattail. They want to have their own and make sure they're doing that job. And that happens a lot in our industry. So
for sure.
Going back to the going back to the material situation, you need to make sure that. I understand in the COVID era it's very difficult to actually have business meetings and things of such, but when we get all of this behind us and back to normal hopefully soon, don't be afraid to take you guys, all your material suppliers out to lunch. More than likely they're going to pay anyways, but it's not about who pays and who doesn't pay. The nicer you are with them, the friendlier you are with them, the more likely you're going to get better numbers. They have tiers, even if they tell you they don't. They do have tiers.
Definitely.
I mean, and one of the niches that we have is, I don't want to say what it is right now, but basically there's one thing we do around here a lot of, and we do so much that we do go through a supplier, but we actually get the product truckloads to us from the actual manufacturer. So the supplier is just there to make the phone call, to put the order in for us, but we actually met with the supplier and the manufacturer together because we actually buy more than the supplier buys in our area. So,
and they know that the manufacturer rep, if he's smart, every manufacturer, big manufacturers have area reps, So they will find them customers. They go out, they meet at job sites, they try to promote their products. But once they build, once they earn your business, they're always on top of it because they know that, you might go to the next supplier. They want to make sure that if you do go to the next supply house, that you're going to one that they sell to, so you can keep buying their product. So there is that type of, I guess competitive advantage was also, they want to work with you, and they know there's a middleman, most of the materials, supplies, so they want to make sure that you're using the manufacturer.
Never cut the middleman out.
Yes.
And once you break down to have that open discussion with them, in the end it could save costs for everyone. With them delivering it directly to you, it saves the middleman the cost of having to store it for X amount of time before it gets delivered over to you. So everybody wins in that situation, not just you.
Plus, you get a good discount because they don't have to touch it.
Yep,
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I'm saying at the end of the day, I mean, it works out better for everybody.
Yeah, they make their money, and they don't have to touch anything or do anything. All they're doing is making a phone call and scheduling delivery. We unload it, we store it, we deal with it.
There's other suppliers that manufacture their own product, like concrete, asphalt, and whatnot. But usually there's more than one in the area, so you gotta also build a reputation with all those suppliers, and not, I know contractors that do a lot of concrete work and use the same guy. Well, I'm gonna tell you something right now. You don't know if you're getting the best price.
You gotta shop your prices.
You gotta shop. You gotta give everybody a little bit of business. Sticking with one guy is not a really good. You shouldn't have one of anything in this kind of industry.
It's human nature to get comfortable and not want to change, but the reality is we're in a low bid environment.
Mm-hmm.
You got to make sure you're getting the best price every single time, or you won't know why you're losing all your bids.
Yeah. Materials can make or break a bid, definitely. Just like subcontractors, same concept.
But that also goes to say something about relationships. That sales guy at that concrete company that goes directly to that guy has made that guy believe that I am your man.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we had a sales for that. God bless him, he passed away. But we went out to lunch and never discussed business. We would go here and there, never discussed anything. And we were his number one, buyer for his supply. What he was selling. He loved us. He took us out. It was just a relationship that was built. He was a great sales guy because he never talked about the product, never talked about the business, only when necessary. We'd go out to lunch, have 5 minutes about this job, that job, this is where I need you to be, this is what I need you to do. And then the other hour and a half was just talking BS and about family and what kind of drinks he likes, about a drink, whatever. So, you're right. There's people out there. There's good sales guys that understand, and then a good sales guy will give you an opportunity to use their competitor. If you got a sales guy that just says, "Hey man, I'm the best and don't use anybody else. They all suck." I mean, that just speaks about his personality. And
goes back to what I was saying is not talking about people.
Yeah, you don't want to talk bad. I mean, when you're bidding, there is a thing of he's a good competitor. I always say that there's certain companies that I bid with all the time, and I always tell them, hey. When I'm at the city, these guys are good competitors. I can't say nothing bad about their product. All I can say is I'm better because I feel that way. It's all right to think you're better. It's all right for you to say I am the best at what I do.
You need to believe in your company, your brand,
your product,
your company,
your
everything.
people. So
100%.
Well, this was an awesome episode. I think I hope you guys learned a lot. We got picked up a lot of different topics we can talk about. Upcoming episodes.
Yeah, I think the next one we're going to do building the work. Yeah, so
part 2, which is doing the work.
My favorite. Well, next to getting the money. My favorite part.
But again, guys, thank you. Please comment below. Let us know what your thoughts are. Give us a thumb up. Subscribe.
Share it with your friends.
Hit that notifications bell, guys.
Yeah, I mean, if you see anybody, anybody in the industry. Let them listen to us, tell them about us, because I'm sure there's no other place they can hear about the highway construction industry, and we'd love to talk to them and answer any questions you guys might have. But again, thank you. Subscribe, hit the like button,
and don't forget to keep bidding and keep digging.
Dig deep, baby.
All right, see you guys.
Bye.